Hello and welcome to the Media 7 Summer Series, coming to you from Artisan Vineyard in West Auckland. Today we are taking a look at two areas of media that both promise escape and aspiration, and that both walk a fine line between advertiser and editorial interests: travel and motoring. Cameron Officer, editor of the New Zealand Top Gear magazine, and Clive Matthew Wilson of the Dog and Lemon Guide will join us later to chat about the state of local motoring media. But first, we're talking travel with TV presenter Camilla Anderson and travel writer Megan Singleton. Welcome to you both.
Thank you.
Camilla is part of the dynamic duo behind Julian and Camilla's World Odyssey, a spirited TV show that beat rejection by TVNZ to become a hit for the worldwide travel channel.
I'm Julian, professional traveller. I've travelled to over 65 countries.
I'm Camilla, also a professional traveller, just trailing behind Julian with 50. Together, we test our friendship, experiencing the ultimate exploration of our planet and its people. Join us
On Julian and Camilla's World Odyssey. In this Odyssey, we visit Tunisia, the ancient jewel of the Mediterranean and gateway to the Sahara, which we tackle by car, plane, and Camilla's rabid camel.
Julian performs his awkward sexy dance with a local girl.
We stay in Luke Skywalker's home,
Luke Skywalker didn't have a very good life, did he?
exploring the locations where the legendary Star Wars films were shot.
Get into the kitchen of a psychopathic restaurateur, where the service far outweighs the food, and we find a country that enjoys showing off its luxuries and selling the finest goods money can buy.
Would you have this in your home?
So, what a wonderful show. How did you get started?
Started in '98 with some friends from film school. That's when we went to film school, but a few years later Julian called me up and was like, I've had great times travelling through India. We had been a lot because his money seemed to go a lot further there than anywhere else. And he's like, let's go make a travel show about all the adventures and basically how you can live on 100 New Zealand dollars a week travelling. So we went and did that, self-funded in the beginning, and soon found that while that was fun to try and do that and live cheaply, more interesting were the people we were meeting and the different subcultures we were experiencing. And slowly over the first shoot, which took us 10 months, we discovered that our show was becoming about these characters we were meeting, the things we were seeing. So that's how we started doing that.
It's an enormous kind of commitment, isn't it, to go and shoot something on spec for 10 months? And
It is, but I guess we were just younger and crazier then, and had an incredibly, possibly stupid self-belief, but it paid off for us in the end. But yeah, we thought, okay, let's go. And as we were going, we were actually thinking, well, we haven't seen a show that is dealing with these kind of things so far, and doing it the way we were doing it. And in fact, Julian and I never intended to be presenters. We just were like, oh, we don't want to take a presenter with us. So, and I'd done a little bit of presenting before, and Julian asked me to produce it. So I said to him, well, I don't want to do it by myself. You have to do it. And he really resisted being on camera at first, because we can't do pieces to camera or anything like that. But very soon really got into it. And yes, it was a risky undertaking, but thankfully it's paid off now.
it's quite unusual the way that you guys have structured the show. It's really quite innovative in that there aren't the pieces to camera, there aren't the kind of shots of the lagoons where you talk about the cocktails. You can have a lot of kind of voiceover and then some kind of cinema verite fun moments of the two of you together.
Yeah. Well, I guess what you see with me and Julian is what you get. That is our relationship. We are a very competitive brother and sister. And we get ourselves in these situations, and nothing is scripted. But I'd hate to call it reality TV, because I think it's more real than reality TV. But it's just that's what it is. And we tried to do pieces to camera. We tried in the very first shoot in Indonesia. We were on Kuta Beach in Bali, and we tried, and it was a complete disaster. And both him and I had little temper tantrums, how we couldn't do this, and we were really bad at it. So we gave up at that point. We were like, okay, it's fly on the wall, it's observational documentary, and whatever happens to us, the audience just has to live through that. And in the end, it's worked.
And as a result, you came back to the country with a finished kind of series after a bit of work, and then it wasn't something TVNZ initially wanted.
No, we went and spent 10 months on the road shooting all the episodes, which was insane, and we haven't done that now with the next series. But we did that, we came back, we spent a year editing it, and went to TVNZ, almost left the TV industry with some of the things that were said to me there. I don't want to repeat now, but didn't know what to do. Contacted a distributor in the States who got the show, really liked what we'd made, took it on and made slow sales, just one in Denmark, one in Thailand, one in France, to different cable channels. And then after 4 years, the Travel Channel, and I guess kind of television started going in the same direction we had. The Travel Channel thought, yeah, this is what we want, and they picked it up and ran with it. And I was just on holiday visiting Julian, who'd moved to London, and I said to him, hey, the Travel Channel playing our show, we should go and say hi. And we walked in the door and they were like, so you guys going to make some more for us? And yeah, so that was a really surreal but great moment. And, yeah.
That's so cool. And in the meantime, also TVNZ ended up buying it internationally to play the first series here at Funny Times.
I know. It reeks a little bit of that, you know, until it's done well overseas, you know, not recognised in your own country. But TVNZ at the time had said things like, how can you make this without us and not consult us, etc. And then, and they wouldn't let me see anybody in acquisitions. I had to see commissioning people because, you know, you don't acquisition a New Zealand show. But the two acquisitions ladies went overseas to MIPCOM and met the distributor and were like, a New Zealand travel show, and bought it. And of course, the commissioner, who had not been interested, didn't like it and somehow manoeuvred into not the greatest time slot. Well, that's the end of that.
That's it. Well, Megan, you may travel solo, but you work for a lot of outlets, don't you? You're on Breakfast TV and blog and file for papers and on the radio. How do all these different kind of aspects of your work come together?
Well, I started about 10 years ago. I guess I've kind of evolved more into the TV and sort of the blogging, but I started out just deciding I'd like to have a bit of a crack at travel writing. Actually, I just wanted to be a journalist. I fell into travel. I went back to the UK, you know, where I'd done my OE, wrote some stories about the ridiculousness of the Tate Modern Art Gallery, or riding the tube with that whole blank London stare, and I got published in Next magazine, and then I was a published travel writer. And so after that I started to try and solicit, you know, some more contacts and try and get out there and get some flights and try and, you know, make it all happen. And Lufthansa actually gave me they said, yeah, sure, take a ticket, go around the world. Well, I nearly bankrupted myself because I went for 2 months and just went all around the place. But then that rolled out as travel fodder for the next 12, so I was able to sort of get myself started in that way.
And what's the approach you take? It's some of the things you write are very kind of personal, and then that kind of a great narrative story.
Yeah, I prefer that. I think a travel writer, to be successful, has to find their own voice. And I think you look at, say, Bill Bryson. I mean, if I could pull it off, Bill Bryson meets Bridget Jones. That would be my ultimate absolute. I'd try and write a book. I did write a book once. I got 8 chapters and I lost it all on computer. So anyway, I haven't tried again. But so I prefer that. I think I like to try and find a little quirky something to start my story, usually a calamity of sorts, and then go on. You've got to try and hook the reader. If you don't hook the reader in the first paragraph, you've lost them. Yeah. I don't read a lot of travel myself, simply because of that.
Tell me what it was that first attracted you to writing travel things. Was it a sense of freedom, or?
I think I just found it so interesting and easy to write. I think I prefer to write those than feature stories about someone starting a business or, you know, or an interview. I actually like, because it's very first person, and so it's about me and what I experienced, and so then you can have a bit of fun at your own expense, whereas if you're writing a feature or a news story or something, you have to take yourself right out of it and just report facts, and that's not really me.
Yeah, and a further evolution of that is starting the blog as well. So it's not just things that are being commissioned, you can put everything and anything. Tell me about what started that.
So I was invited by House of Travel to be their full-time blogger nearly 4 years ago now. So for twice a day, 5 days a week, I was uploading posts on House of Travel's TripStar website, which actually isn't there anymore. So this year I went out on my own, and I've started Blogger at Large, and I've got .com and .co.uk and .co.nz, and I'm trying to take over the world. So I've sort of just started getting my posts online, but so sometimes it'll be about like an event that's on. Someone might be interested to know what the top marathons are for 2010. And so that's a post that's actually probably my most popular post. Then the other one just I put up this week was high tea at Orofaru Lodge down in Hawke's Bay. Just what scones and cream and where you go to find that place, and a little history about the old homestead. So it can be anything.
Yeah, and there are a lot of areas that you're involved through with TV presenting and radio and writing and blogging. Is that because you need to work in many areas to bring a living out of it, or is it
Yeah.
because you enjoy all those
I
different
enjoy
things?
it. I mean, I don't think there'd be many full-time travel writers in New Zealand making a living just out of travel. I mean, except for your paid editorial staff. Most people have another job, so they do other writing, and be it business writing, feature stories, newsletters, corporate writing. I've tried to stick completely into travel because after 10 years it's sort of a niche I know quite well now. And then I've sort of, the TV thing has come up, and then the radio things happen. It's just ad hoc at this stage, but hopefully for this year there'll be more of that.
So Camilla, what does it take to work in travel media? What kind of skills do you need?
I think you've just basically got to have an open mind. That is the first thing. And you have to be interested. You have to be curious and interested, because there's nothing more boring than someone who's not interested in what they're doing or what they're seeing. So, and that's something I definitely have. Julian would call me nosy, but I just call myself interested. And I just love meeting people and finding out about new things. It's better than any education you can have, really, travelling. And if you want to know about a place or about people or anything like that, that's what you need, and all you need, I think.
What about you, Megan? Is there a kind of a resilience or curiosity?
Yeah,
or what?
definitely a curiosity. I
Yeah.
think the day I am not overawed by a place I go to is the day I should walk away. I just love it. I could be going back to the same city for the 10th time, but I'll always be looking for something. I'm never on holiday. Like, you're always looking for an angle.
I know what you mean.
Something quirky, something unusual, something to hang a story on that would make it quite fun. Or now blog, it's so much easier. 200, 300 words and you're done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you get some kind of travel fatigue in there?
That does happen. I mean, after a while you go, oh, in South America, another church, another cathedral, or another temple. Like, you can get to that point, but that's when you start going, before you even leave, you Google something where you just want to find something really unique. And I've been really lucky, as in the director of our show, Ian, he will not do anything boring. So he will look for the church that has some weird backstory, or there's some bones you can go see in it, and that, so that you go past, of course, the main one in the square, but you start looking for the most unusual things. You have to get to that stage, I think.
You do.
What would a highlight be from your travels?
Oh gosh, Peru, clambering over the ruins of Machu Picchu and watching this woman in her stiletto heels try and do the same thing. And just think, oh my goodness, this place is not even supposed to be around in a few years because it's meant to be like slipping away. You're eroding the rocks, lady. So anyway, that was quite a great start to a story.
And for you, Camilla, what's a highlight out of your travels?
I guess in the last year and a half, I had a great time in Colombia. That was a real surprise, and just a huge variety and lots of different things to see and do. And also going back to Africa, going back to Kenya. I was originally born in Africa, but to go there and experiencing that, and to meet someone who I've admired since school, Dr. Richard Leakey, was a moment I was very nervous and enjoyed. Yeah.
And are there risks? I mean, you talk about Colombia there, and I saw that episode, and you were saying that you were amazed that you'd had this perception that it was a dangerous place, but by going there, it was not. Is it a risky job, the travelling?
Well, I guess probably your chances of coming to a nasty end are slightly higher than other people who, travel between home and work every day. But I don't think it's as risky as a lot of people think to keep them in their armchairs.
Yeah, and it can be risky. Like, sometimes I'll just organise my own travel and go off and do my own thing, and suddenly I find myself in a place where I probably shouldn't be. But I'm always looking for a story angle, and I do think if I did happen to perish on a travel story, I would get front page of the Herald travel section. So sometimes it's worth it.
There'll be a lot worse ways to go, yeah?
Exactly.
You just got to remember that.
That's the attitude, isn't it? Well, we're now going to take a quick break and come back and look at the way that Tourism New Zealand helps attract shows like America's Next Top Model to our shores.